Hello my crocheter friends, it's Yobi here today, and this is the first video of a new series where I'm going to show you how to make some nice and cute crochet stitches. Thanks to the request of Linda Lucas, today I'm sharing with you how to make the crocodile stitch. This crochet stitch is also called a scale stitch. The things we are going to need for this tutorial are yarn, a crochet hook in a size suitable for the yarn you are using. In this case, I use a 3.5mm hook, needle for yarn, and a stitch marker, and a pair of scissors. For our stitch tutorials, I'm going to make use of crochet charts. So, before working on a specific row, I'm going to explain to you in the chart what we are going to do. As you can see in the chart, the row number 1 of our crocodile stitch requires a foundation chain. The number of chains shall be a multiple of 6 plus 1. For this example, I'm going to use 19 chains. Now let's go to our crochet chart. Okay, to read the row number 1, we have to do it from the left to the right, in the direction of the red arrow. If we see there, we see small head of arrow marked in black. This indicates the start of our work, and the little ellipses that are made in blue represent chains. We are going to begin with a slip knot, and then we are going to make the 19 chains. The second row is formed by a series of V-stitches. A V-stitch is made by 1 double crochet, 1 chain, and 1 double crochet made in the same stitch. When we start to make the second row, if we see our chart, we have to read from the right to the left. So the first V-stitch that we see is a little bit special because it's the beginning of a new row. In this case, we are going to replace the first double crochet by 3 chains. Then we make 1 chain and 1 double crochet that correspond to the first V-stitch. And to make the next V-stitch, we are going to leave 2 chains from the foundation chain. For the row number 2, I'm going to place a stitch marker in the 19th chain, in the last one. And as we said in the pattern, I'm going to work 4 chains more. Then, in the chain that we have marked before, I'm going to work 1 double crochet. This is our first V-stitch. Now let's work the next one. For this, we are going to leave 2 chains, 1 and 2, and here on the third one, we are going to work the V-stitch. So we make the first double crochet, then 1 chain and another double crochet. And this is our V-stitch. We are going to continue working V-stitches along the foundation chain. Let's see our chart for the row number 3. To read the chart, we have to go from the left to the right. This is the row where we are going to work our scales. In this case, I'm going to use a pattern for each scale that is 5 double crochet on one side, 1 chain in between, and 5 double crochet on the other side. As you can see in the picture, I have colored in a little bit lighter color the row number 2 to be used as a reference. The only special case that we have here is the first scale. In this case, I'm going to replace the first double crochet of one side by 3 chains. For this row, we are going to turn our work, and here we are going to work 3 chains. In the third chain, we place our stitch marker, and then we are going to flip our foundation row until we see the first pulse of this double crochet. This is a pulse, until we see the first pulse in a horizontal position, like so. So here we have the chains, and here we have the remaining thread of our slip knot. In this position, we start to work here in the first pulse 4 double crochet. With our fingers, we try to separate both posts so we see the gap in between in a very clear way. Now the first half of our scale is ready. We are going to separate this half from the other one with 1 chain. And to begin the other chain, we are just going to extend our work. I don't remove the hook, I just extend the work, like so. And here we see the second pulse where we are going to work our 5 double crochet that are going to complete the first scale. I will advise you just to fold your foundation row like this, so you are able to see the post in a very clear way, and here in this position you start to work the 5 double crochet. Now we just extend again our work, and here we are going to see our first scale. Okay, we just leave the stitch marker there, and we are going to continue working the next scale. So the first thing that we encounter in our foundation row is this V stitch. We don't do anything here, just skip it, and we are going to work here in the next one. As usual, with our fingers, we separate both posts so we see them clearly. And then I'm just going to take the first one and I'm going to flip my work so that I'm able to see the post in an horizontal way. Here we are going to work 5 double crochet in this gap. Then I'm going to make 1 chain to separate both sides of the scale, and I'm going to open my work. Okay, so we are also checking that the result is nice. And here I find the second post where I'm going to work the second half of the scale. Again, I pick it with my fingers, pull it, and place it in an horizontal position, and continue working 5 double crochet more here. Now I extend my work again and I see my second scale. For the next one, we just leave the next V-stitch and we are going to work here another scale. After that, we leave this V-stitch and we work the last V-scale at the end. I'm going to continue working and show you the end result. Now I have finished with the 4 scales of this row. The row number 4 is formed by a series of V-stitches. This is very similar to the first row. The only difference is that at the beginning and at the end of this row, we are going to make 1 double crochet. At the beginning of the row, we replace this double crochet by 3 chains. For this row, I begin turning my work. Then here in this position, we are going to make 3 chains. In the 3rd chain, we place our stitch marker. And we are going to make the first V-stitch here in the middle of our previous scale. Then the next V-stitch is going to be here in the middle of the previous V-stitch. So for that, I'm going to introduce my hook through this gap, but I'm going to place the intersection of the scales on top of my hook. Okay, you can see here, that's on top of this. We put these two together and I'm going to work my V-stitch here. And like this, I continue working. So whenever we encounter one scale, we are going to make the next V-stitch in the middle, and when we encounter one V-stitch, we are going to make also in the middle of the V-stitch, but ensure that this intersection goes on top of the hook. Now I have made my last V-stitch, and to finalize this row, I'm going to remove the stitch marker, and here I'm going to make 1 double crochet. Okay, I just want to show you how it looks from the other side. So as you can see here, this is the V-stitches, and whenever we encounter the intersection of 2 scales, here the V-stitch is taking them. Let's have a look at our crochet chart for the row number 5. In this row, we are going to make 3 scales. I have color here in a light green the row number 4 as a reference, but here we start working with 3 slip stitches. The first 2 place in the first 2 stitches, and the 3rd slip stitch goes in the 1 chain space of the first V stitch. Then we are going to start working the scales as we know already.
Remember that we are reading this chart in the direction of the red arrow, so from the left to the right.
For this row, we are going to begin turning our work. Then here I'm going to make 2 slip stitches in the first 2 stitches. Then the third slip stitch goes here in the center of our first V stitch. And then I'm going to start working my first scale of this row. You know already the procedure. As we have done in the previous rows, we are going to skip the next V stitch and work the next scale in the next V stitch. Okay, this is how it looks at the moment. We are going to continue working in this way. We are almost done with this row. After the last scale, what we are going to do is to make 3 slip stitches to secure the last scale. The first slip stitch goes here in the center of this V stitch. The next one goes here on top of this double crochet. If you see here is the double crochet. We have to make the slip stitch a little bit to the left. And the last slip stitch goes here where the stitch marker was placed before. We remove it. And here we see the gap.
Let's see our chart to see what we are going to make in the row number 6. We are going to read this chart from the right to the left in the direction of the red arrow. This row number 6 is very similar to the row number 4. It's a set of V stitches, and on the side we are going to place double crochet. At the beginning of the row, we are going to replace the double crochet by 3 chains.
For this row, we begin turning our work. Then we make 3 chains. We place our stitch marker in the 3rd chain. And we are going to make the first V stitch in the center of this V stitch. Now, the next V stitch goes here in the middle of this scale. and the next one goes here again in the middle of this V stitch, but we should not forget that we have to take also the intersection of the scales. We are going to continue working V stitches until the end of this row. Now I have finished working all the V stitches, so I'm going to finalize this row by making one double crochet on top of the double crochet of the previous row. Here we can see this is where we have to pass our hook. It's just on top of that.
The row number 7 is very similar to the row number 6. In this case, to read the chart, we have to move from the left to the right. In the picture, you can see that in purple is the row number 6, the one that we are going to use as a reference, and the work to be done for the row number 7 is shown in light purple. For this row, we are going to begin with one chain. Then we work our scales as we have been doing in the other rows, and to finalize we are going to make one slip stitch on top of the third chain of the row number 6.
For this row we are going to begin turning our work, then we make one chain and we start working our scales. Here goes the first scale, okay? In the first V stitch. I'm going to continue working the other scales of this row. Now I'm almost at the end of this row. As you can see here, I have worked already all the scales, and to finalize this, we are going to make one slip stitch here where the stitch marker was placed before. For this we remove it, and then here we make slip stitch. If you want to continue working this pattern, you have to repeat the rows from the number 4 till the number 7. So you have to repeat this row of the 3 scales and this row of the 4 scales. Here I can show you an extended version of the previous work that we were doing in this tutorial. Here I have repeated just the row number 4 and 5 to create this set of scales, and the row number 6 and 7 to create this set of scales. This stitch is very nice, it looks very beautiful, and it's very warm. It's perfect for a scarf or for any other use that you want to make. I just close our pattern using single crochet. If you want to see on the back side, here you can see the result. So I have created this pattern because I wanted something stable, something like really keeps the shape all the time. And this is why it's important to make at the end the chains or the double crochet. There is something else I want to mention. Here for the scales we have used a pattern, you know, 5 double crochet on one side, 1 chain and 5 double crochet on the other side, but there are several other versions. There's one version that uses 5 double crochet without the chain in between, just continue working, or I have another pattern like this one that have a little tip on the bottom. So there is a tutorial where I show you how to make this flower, and you can also get the idea how this petal is made, and you can implement the same thing here. And that's all what I have for you, my friends. I will leave you down below the link where you can download the pattern I have created especially for you. Let me know if you have any question or any doubt. Tell me if you like the video. Let me know which other stitches do you want that I show you. Share the video if you know anyone who is interested in learning how to make this cute crocodile stitch. I leave you a big hug, a big thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye!